Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that.
Let's talk a little bit about spring ball. You want to get to spring ball? Talk spring ball?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Obviously, it looks like Jake Smith, Noah Meary, no more. Looks like Smith may have broken his foot. It's like injuries just hampering the same guys over and over and over again. Looked like Moore, I guess, was out, probably sick for first practice. I'm not sure if he made it back today. And then Noah Meary obviously tore ACL, so he's going to be out for a while, probably limited in practice. But again, with these injuries, it gives these guys an opportunity to, you're hoping they're getting the middle reps that they need to get. But it also lets some of these guys that probably wouldn't have got the reps, which it sounds like it's high repetition practices, like over and over and over and over again. You watch these videos and they'll say, if you're walking, you're wrong. You need to be moving. It's this all gas, no brakes thing, man. Trying to get as many reps as possible so that really, I think it becomes muscle memory. The more reps you do, the easier it becomes, the less you have to think, becomes muscle memory. And obviously your quarterback's able to get your receivers to the ball before they're turning their heads and do whatever they have to in those breaks. Go ahead, Jeremy.
And that's what kind of hurts about Jake. If you feel like Jake is one of your top 4 or 5 guys, he's losing out on repetitions. He, like you said, he can get those middle reps, but he's not allowed to run those routes that a guy like Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle got a chance to run as you're putting in play after play after play. Because, again, they talked about high rep guy or high repetition offense, high repetition practices, no breaks, like you said, moving from station to station, running. And like you said, he doesn't like to keep his football team on the field for 3 hours. He'd rather do it 2 hours with as many repetitions in 2 hours as you get in 3, which I love. But like I said, it's going to hamper guys like Jake Smith, who you feel are in that top 3, 4, 5 in that receiver rotation if he misses spring ball due to a broken foot / stress fracture. They ever come back and say that it was assuredly a broken foot? Because last night I think they were still getting the diagnostic test results back, trying to figure out if it's going to be a stress fracture. Ultimately, it's going to cost him 6 weeks, so I don't think it'll allow him to come back for any kind of spring practice. But hopefully he's ready to go for summer camp.
Glenn Keller said it best, man. It's these – somebody said it earlier. And, again, we could talk press conferences a little bit. Obviously, it's coach talk. It's kind of like what you got from Mike Yursich and Chris Ash the first couple of press conferences last year, where they're not going to name guys and they're going to stay away from naming guys because they want to worry about development. They want guys to go out there and have to be hungry each and every day. But it's crazy that someone that can say their Mensa doesn't sound as smart as someone like Sarkisian when you're having a conversation with him. And I think it's because this is what happens when you get a coach that's been at multiple Power 5 stops with multiple high caliber coaches you're working for. You start learning the way that they talk. Yeah. You start talking the way that you talk. And that's what coaching trees do. That's what leadership trees do. Because if you've ever had I look at it like this, if you've ever had a mentor that you've been under for a while, you start taking on parts of their leadership philosophies, and the things that they say become the things that you say. And I think that's Sarkisian hasn't had an opportunity to work for those guys. And I think his leadership philosophy has been geared towards that. But, like Glenn Keller says best, they need to start getting out of survival mode and finish strong. To me, that's what we didn't have. It's why do we let the foot off the throat? With him, it's all gas, no brakes. Stop getting out of survival mode and be who you are and go as fast as you possibly can. And it's exciting to watch these videos.
And simplicity is easy, right? Nobody wants to be talked down to or felt less than, right? Especially when you're not taking accountability on Monday. So, yeah, you're my buddy. You're my foxhole. You're my guy. I'll follow you, but don't talk down to me. Like you said, he makes it very simple. Hey, that's why I truly believe this is going to be a meritocracy. The best players will play. He's going to challenge everybody from the 53rd dude on the roster to the number 1 guy on the roster. And I'm talking NFL terms because I don't think 85 guys are going to play. I think a good 53, 55 will see playing time, but they're all going to be handled the same way. Nothing's given to you. You're going to earn everything, every rep, every play. And that's what makes the best football teams. And that's what you get from a Nick Saban, from a Pete Carroll coaching tree. You don't get status quo. Hey, I'm uncomfortable with playing this guy because I know this guy can at least give me this. No, I'm going to push everybody, like I say, from 1 to 53 the same way. And the best guys are going to – that's that survival. I'm surviving to maintain my position. I'm surviving to maintain my spot on the depth chart. And that needs to go from practice to practice, play to play, rep to rep.
Yeah, it's to me, and again, they were talking about don't worry about it too deep, because this is really positionless football at this particular point, because you don't know where a lot of these guys are going to line up yet, and I think listening to Sark talk in his presser and talk about, well, I haven't seen these guys, on a football field. You know what I'm saying? I've seen them in film study, but I haven't seen them on a football field. So I don't know what their athletic ability is on the field until I see it. I don't know what their actually game speed is until I see it. So it's hard for me to say, okay, this guy's going to line up a Z, this guy's going to line up a Y. Hey, do we do, they talked about two tight ends moving forward. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy to think that you wouldn't have two tight ends when you got a running back like Bijan Robinson, where you plan on, leaning on people. But I think right now it's really positionless football on both offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball. And I think that's what's going to create that like you're talking about survival mode, that meritocracy. Everybody's got to come out and be hungry. People like Anthony Cook that we haven't heard from in a long time, names are coming up. That makes me excited. You know what I'm saying? Because if Anthony Cook's coming up, he's making Chris Adamora that much better. Hell, who's to think that Anthony Cook can't go back to being a starting cornerback where he started at?
Very well could.
And I think that's – go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I just want to talk about tape versus live. And that's something that we got to witness this weekend is you can make an assessment on film and not know who the guy's lining up against play one versus play two and their athletic ability. But what allows you to do live is understand the complexity. Do they take plays off? Do they match up well with this kind of corner in this kind of set, especially with receivers and defensive backs? Is he better in the slot against this type of coverage? Those intricacies that you can see play to play live bear out versus, like you said, watching a game film against TCU in the third quarter in a vanilla offense that kind of pushed its foot on the brake and not allowing the gas to go. But yeah, that perspective, like you said, not making decisions. You have an idea of what they look like on film, but then, like you said, not making any drastic changes until you see them catch a football, like you said, or line up in man-to-man coverage, or line up or understand zone and reps in their system, in Coach PK's system and in Sark's system. I think they're going about it. Like I said, they haven't missed a step as far as I'm concerned as a coaching staff since they got here. But then again, I wear burnt orange glasses, so.
I think, again, let's go back to the quarterback battle that we haven't had in damn near 4 years, right? If you watch video, because that's what you're going to get, clips of video, then you're getting inside information. If you go watch, Hudson Card throws a dime to Brewer, who looks a little bit slimmed down at this particular point, rolling out. But then you also see Casey Thompson throw one to, I believe, Jay Witt, and he high pointed it in the end zone. People were talking about Jay Witt not being a receiver last week on our live. But then you go watch him in the end zone, high point a ball. Hell, I didn't see that out of Jay Witt, But I think just moving forward, I think that this really they're going to have to show up in each other play, man. It wouldn't surprise me if this quarterback battle, to me, I think it's Casey's to lose at this particular point. But it also comes down to install of offense. Can you learn what Steve Sarkisian wants you to do on the offense? Can you make the plays? It really comes down to to be able to the mental piece versus the physical piece, because it sounds like he's trying to push everything install it right now. You got 12 days, we got 12 practices, and we're going to install all that stuff.
He talked about it. He said the why. Why do we run it? He wants them to think like coaches. Like, why do we run this particular play? Why do we line up in this alignment? Not just the simplicity of, hey, my position, I'm the X receiver, I'm responsible for running this route in this coverage, but understanding why they call the play in that down and distance and why they throw to a specific receiver, that they all understand that now. So when they're studying film on Sundays after something got busted up or dude wasn't in the right place or they didn't read the right route by the coverage that was given, that they already understand that. And it's like, hey, that's when it's easy to say, hey, quarterback, that's on me, or quarterback's signaling out the receiver, hey, that's on me. And that constant, like you talked about earlier, that team think that they're working with one mind and one direction. Not, hey, we're lining up and running this play, but why are we running this play? Why is Bijan getting the ball in this particular circumstance against this coverage in this down and distance.
So we have 100 people watching right now.
Up, dude.
Yeah, I know, me too. Yeah. And again, it comes back to the excitement. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's excited. Everybody's, if you would not mind, there's 103 people in here watching right now. If you would not mind hitting that like button, we would appreciate it. It means a lot to us. If you have not hit the subscribe button and you're new to our channel, which I think there's people out here that probably are. And if you are, welcome to Texas Football Talk. We enjoy talking about Texas Longhorn football the most, but we'll get out into other athletics. Get out into other teams and so on and so forth. But we're back in our wheelhouse, man. Back in our wheelhouse. Recruiting, football, recruiting, football, recruiting, and football. And really can't wait until you get into the season. We start doing post-game and pre-game shows. We still owe y'all some not position battles, but really position reviews. Working on those. I actually worked on the on some of those today. I worked on tight ends in safeties, and I worked on running backs and linebackers. I'll push those over to Jeremy, and we'll probably get those out sooner than later. So probably get those out sooner than later. But got to be excited. Got to be excited at this particular point. Injuries are gonna come. Injuries gonna go. You're gonna have to deal with injuries. It's just the way it is. But we gotta be prepared as a program to have the next person step up and not lose the ability that we currently have on the 40 acres. But from a defensive standpoint,
one of the notes.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
One of the notes you do have on here that we haven't covered is Jawan Mitchell. Again, the leading tackler from last year's team, him and DeMarvion Overshone are your products that you have a good idea coming back this year at that linebacker position. And unfortunately, right now, he's not with the team. Whether there's rumors out there that's academics. Again, he was one time in the transfer portal under the Herman administration, came back to the football team. But yeah, a key contributor, number 6, Jawan Mitchell, is currently not practicing during spring ball. So hopefully we can get him back in the fold again. As that linebacker position, as we know, is a little bit thinner than other positions on the football team. Like I said, with the depth of, with proven talent in Jawan Mitchell and DeMarvion Overshone, but then Jalen Ford, Hullaby, the guys behind them are a little bit younger and less proven. So hopefully we can get him back to 40 acres. If anybody knows what's going on. Again, yeah, like you said, it's a next man up mentality. I don't know who just said that, D-Taylor, but absolutely correct. So somebody's got to fill that void. David Gabenda, Jalen Ford, Hullaby, Jaden Hullaby. Can possibly come in and take that position. Or with the new linebackers like Derek Harris Jr. But like you said, next man up, understand.
And we get a lot of questions about bet transfers in, right? And I can tell you that me and Jeremy, and everybody kind of knows that me and Jeremy really aren't going to start talking about people either till they committed or they transferred into the program and they're part of the program. We can sit here and talk about Ben Davis from Alabama until we can't talk about Ben Davis anymore, but Ben Davis is not currently a player on the roster. So it's hard to give our insight to what he would do in the football team if he's not in spring practice and so on and so forth. Hopefully he joins the team in the summer, and it sounds like some people saying he is, some people say he's not really knowing what the current status of it is. But hey, if Ben Davis joins the team in the summer, then we're going to talk about Ben Davis going forward. And there's a couple other guys. It sounds like they got a couple of other transfer guys that they're looking at currently, linebackers, inside linebacker. So just kind of watch that transfer portal. Again, Steve Sarkisian said after the recruiting, when he did his recruiting presser at the end of the cycle, he said he left a couple of positions. He left spots open, scholarship spots open, not knowing he was going to lose other guys in the program that are going to be transferring out. So there may be 6-7 positions, scholarship positions at this particular point that may be open on the 40 acres. So this transfer portal, there's damn 1,000 guys in the transfer portal at this particular point. There's only so many schools they can go to. So I would look for spring practice, look at the transfers, see where we go at moving forward to gain, if not a starter, depth at some of these positions where we need them.
But again, I think Spike 6 is hitting the money. Right now, you got to look from within. You can't really worry about Ben Davis and what his current projection is. You got to get those guys extra reps. Again, when Jake Smith goes out, next receiver comes in and gets those reps. So whether that's, like I said, a Jalen Ford, who we've heard is doing really, really well in spring ball, or Jaden Hullaby or David Kabenda or whoever takes that spot and gets those reps needs to perform because, again, you came to the University of Texas, you accepted a scholarship, you're more than likely a 4 or 5 star athlete because that's what comes to the University of Texas. Get out there and produce, especially under this coaching staff who prides themselves on development of talent. So whoever gets those snaps, whether they're split or one man gets those, get out there and perform, because that's what we're talking about prior to, was that lack of, getting that spot and hold that spot and meritocracy across the board.
PK's defense, man, since we're on defense, let's talk a little bit about defense. Sounds like the defense is obviously ahead of the offense. I think it usually works like that. Defense, hell, just like the offense, have probably had 3 different coordinators over 3 different years. So there's not a lot they haven't seen, probably not a lot they've heard. I think a lot of it probably comes down to really terminology. I'm really, really excited about these defensive coaches, man. Choate, Davis, Blake Gideon, when you hear him talk about development. Terry Joseph. I think this defense, man, I always get excited about defense anyway. I think Sark being in charge of the offense makes me feel a little bit better about where we're at on the offense than previous years, and not knowing who Mike Yurcich is and kind of just going off what he did at Oklahoma State. And prior to him, the guy that's currently, I think, in North Carolina State at this particular point. I feel really good about where we're at with this defense. I think the biggest piece is trying to figure out the depth, where guys like they're talking about, where Thornton's going to currently play at, which he said he has the body type to fit one of those positions. That came out of Sark's mouth. But then they also asked Sark, are you going to be involved in offensive, defensive, special teams? And he said the way he runs a spring practice, he's always involved. He's always there. But I think you could tell that he felt really comfortable, that he wanted to be with the special teams and he wanted to be with the offense because he felt really, really good about the defensive staff that he has on that side of the ball. And the head coaches, or the head coach in Choate, the guys that were at the NFL level, guys that have been on championship teams, I think he feels comfortable that he can kind of leave the defense alone and worry about that offensive special teams. And I think that's where you got to be in today's football. I think the only thing is Sark he's already decided he's going to be that offensive coordinator, not, hey, okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Flood, and you're going to call the plays. He's going to call the plays, but I think he feels really good about where he's at with that defense moving forward. And those guys.
Yeah, of course he does. Of course he does in the front four. Like, he needs to be on the offensive side, coaching up, helping Kyle Flood with that offensive line. Like, we understand that position group versus that position group. PK aside, we understand that position group is pretty much going to be the dominant group on that defensive side of the ball. You got experience at cornerback. What you need to do is you have one safety position probably to field because BJ's back there, but you have experience in Jaren Thompson. And so it's just a couple of pieces in the linebacker core. So, yeah, that's probably your most experienced side of the ball by starts. But then again, you got guys that they're coming back in their 3rd or 4th year, like a Jake Whittington, like a Smith, who are in their 3rd year at the program, but haven't had the opportunity to play as many games or start as many games because of injuries. Same thing with behind Kate Brewer, our younger guys, Jared Wiley's, who hasn't got as many snaps. But again, the offensive line is where this spring really we need to develop. And again, they're going to get rough reps against that defensive line this spring.
One of the things he brought up was them watching film as a whole, as a team, not broken down by position, not broken down by defense or offense or whatever the case may be, but all the coaches are going to watch film together. But, he's like, that's how we make each other better. Can I run this against your defense? If I can't run this against your defense, can you run this defense against my offense, and so on and so forth? And I think that's important, man, because that makes you better. Obviously, there's a reason that Sarkisian brought PK in, and they went and recruited him to come to the University of Texas because his defense is really, really, really hard to play against. So what better way to have a guy that's sitting in the same film room as you and say, hey, no, I wouldn't run it like that. Or, hey, maybe that you're showing a tendency that I would catch as a defensive coordinator. You may want to change that tendency up so that, Baylor's defensive coordinator doesn't see. And I think that's smart to do that, where they're looking at film together and saying, hey, this is instead of playing this guy over here, he may be better over here, man, to play at versus, You know, he gives me a more difficult time here than he does here in packages, man. I think that's really, really crazy smart, man, doing that.
Yeah, if you're a wide receiver coach and you don't know the intricacies of defensive backs and how they line up and what they're looking to do to against you, then you're behind. So like you said, for Terry Joseph to watch film with Andre Coleman is phenomenal. For Blake Gideon to watch film with Stan Drayton, safeties versus running backs or linebackers versus running backs. Like you said, Kyle Flood versus Bo Davis. Hey, man, when we line up in this front, your linemen see this. I would change up or make a what do we call it at halftime? Just basically
adjustments.
Thank you. Yeah, make an adjustment to where I would, dive block here and come around, and or maybe this is the way we would do it. But yeah, they need to be in each other's, because again, coaching growing up, like I don't believe maybe he was a linebackers coach all the way up through high school. He was a position coach. But if you go back and look at a lot of these guys' biographies, they've spent time not necessarily on both sides of the ball, but different position groups as they grew up in the coaching tree. So they already have a lot of that working for them. But yeah, as many great minds can get together and see the same thing, it allows for, like you said, those adjustments, those tiny adjustments that can make a 10-yard gain, a 60-yard gain for a touchdown that allow you to beat a TCU and Iowa State and Oklahoma, where we haven't been able to do in the past.
Taylor Henrik said he's going to bring us Steve Sarkisian is going to bring us the national championship year one. I'm not going to go that far at this particular point. I'm excited about the coaching staff. I can tell you that. Really, really excited about the coaching staff. Really excited about the team we have. We'll be drinking burnt orange Kool-Aid, but I'm gonna make sure that burnt orange Kool-Aid is a little bit watered down at this particular point until we get further on, closer to the season, and we start doing reviews of the games and looking at what, obviously game by game. Definitely want to water down that burnt orange Kool-Aid, but I'm definitely excited about both this offensive staff and this defensive staff. Bringing up Brendan Schooler, man, I think somebody said it best. I think we talked about that last year. He was a Pac-12 all-freshman safety at Oregon. That's what he was recruited to play. We brought him over as a wide receiver, played at multiple positions as a wide receiver. That tells you how smart he was. He was only on campus for like a week, and he started playing games, or he's playing games for us because of injury. But I think his natural position is safety, and I think he is going to be able to break. I think he's going to be a breakout player this year. I think he's going to be a breakout player because you're going to need every defensive back you can possibly have in PK's defense moving forward. And I think Brendan Schooler fits the mode of that safety. I think he does. I think he fits the mode of a Big 12 safety.
Yeah, when he transferred back in the summer, folks asked us on the channel, hey, where do you guys see him playing? Me and Clint both said safety. Tom Herman did agree, played him at wide receiver. But yeah, if you got a safety core of, again, Jaren Thompson, who's proven that as a freshman that he could stand up and play good ball, BJ Foster, his experience, Schooler, and we're hesitant to name names because every time we don't say a name, somebody comes and says, well, you forgot about this guy. No, we didn't forget about him. It's just we don't have a big script in front of us and we don't have our roster. But I think that, like you said, moving Schooler over to safety allows you more depth at the safety position in an already crowded wide receiver field. I mean, Sark said that there's 15 guys on scholarship when he got here. There's another 3 recruits at that position coming in this class. I think the need is probably to fill that spot in that secondary, to try to make that safety room 4 or 5 guys deep that you trust, that if you had a couple of injuries during the season, you could put a guy in there and not miss a beat. But yeah, I think he does create depth, and we'll see if it's him and Foster starters or him and Thompson are starters, or if he's the reserve behind Thompson and BJ Foster as the season draws more near.
Yeah, if you go down the list of defensive backs at this particular point, I mean, to me, I feel comfortable where we're at. Darian Dunn, get him from Mid-Nick State as a transfer. You got Thompson, and hear the names because people will be like, well, you forgot about such and such. But really just going down at Thompson, Crawford, Jamison, Barron, Cook, and Adam Mora, and the list goes on and on and on. You just hope these guys are developed to a level where they're pushing each other at practice every day, and at the safety, Jaren Thompson, who came and played a hell of a couple of games at the end of the year last year for Caden Stearns, who opted out. And then having BJ Foster. People talk about BJ Foster and his cover skills. I'm going to tell you what, BJ Foster this year, to me, is going to make his money in PK's defense. He is. And then adding someone like Brendan Schooler to that mix with obviously Owens, and kind of seeing where Owens is, after, this spring going into summer. He's uber athletic, has the speed, has the size, but he's got to figure out where he's going to be at. So I feel really, really good about the defensive backs at this particular point. Again, I sent Jeremy some notes on our defensive backs, safeties today. So it's a little easier to talk about it, but I think I feel really, really good at it. I think we just need to develop that talent so that the ones, the twos and threes are just as good as the ones moving forward.
I feel even better. Like, I called DeMarvin Overshown, like, not going to pat myself on the back, but when DeMarvin Overshown came to the program his freshman year, I told Clint he'd end up being a linebacker. I feel the same, even more bullish about Owens dropping down in the box now, especially if Juwan Mitchell doesn't come back to the program. Kid's speed size factor, I feel is made for a linebacker in PK's defense. I really believe that. Whether they do that or not, they get paid a lot more money to make those decisions and have a lot more time with the kid and can figure out if they can develop him at that second level. But the speed body combo that 44 brings to the football field, I feel if he's going to be a reserve safety, let's give him a shot at playing outside linebacker and bringing some depth to that position. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, it just depends on, we had this discussion last time, it just depends on if he has the mindset to take on big blocks and be in the box. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Marvin Overshown in Under Armour, Under Armour game, you see what you were going to get from Marvin Overshown. He was like a missile, just like BJ Foster. Those guys are downhill missile guys. Somebody said that BJ Foster didn't stay in the box. I don't necessarily disagree with that. To me, what we need at this particular point is tacklers like you got from help me out, Brandon. Help me out.
Brandon Jones.
Brandon Jones, man. Tacklers like Brandon Jones, man. Sure tacklers that were you. If somebody's one-on-one, you knew Brandon Jones was always going to make a tackle. But it comes down to, does he mind taking on blocks, and is he willing to work in that box? That's not for everybody. And I think DeMarvin Overshown, it was easier for him. But it also comes down to speed of the game too. The speed of the game is a little faster the closer you get to the line versus having a couple of steps to be able to think about what's going to happen at that safety level, either free or strong safety. You got an opportunity to kind of look at what's going on, see what blockers are coming at you, and be able to move to where you need to go.
But now it's time to get him those reps. And I didn't even think about it because Overshown's injury happened last week, and it's not on our show notes, but I don't know if we covered that in the last slide. But Juwan Mitchell's not here for some reason, whether it's academics or something else. And DeMarvin Overshown has a shoulder injury. Now's the time to figure out if this kid, or ask this kid, hey, if you're willing to do it, and if you are, now's the time to get him those reps. Especially, like I said, with these two linebackers, your most experienced linebackers out for spring for a considerable amount of time. I think it's the move to make. And you'll find out real quick whether you want to find out in spring versus late summer, and then transition him back to safety with little or less preparation time for the season. If you figure out he can't play linebacker in the spring, then you got the summer to get him conditioned to play safety. But if you wait till the summer, then you really don't have that preparation time to move him back, in my mind. Just thinking out loud. So, yeah, I would love to see him get reps down in the box.
Yeah, spring game, April 24th, me and Jeremy will both be there if they allow fans in the stadium for a spring game. I can tell you that me and Jeremy will be there probably with our families at the spring game, April 24th.
With sunscreen.
With sunscreen on.
With sunscreen.
With sunscreen on.
Oh, man.
Lando said, low-key, Gilbert might be on campus right now. Talking about Eric Gilbert. Maybe on campus. Somebody said, what's the weakest position currently on the defense?
To me, with Mitchell out, it's definitely inside linebacker. Weakest, I don't like the term weakest. What I will say is
I would say inside linebacker.
But like I said, I don't like to say the term weak. I would say less experienced, or less proven, I would say. I don't want to call the position group weak. But yeah, linebacker.
Yeah, I'm going to say inside linebacker too. Depth is a problem. You know what I'm saying? Depth is a problem. Experience is a problem at that particular right now. Again, that's where I would look for guys that may help you in the transfer portal going forward. It's probably going to be linebackers to me. I really don't see any other position, maybe a grad transfer or transfer lineman or two, maybe to fill out the line. Wide receivers, definitely not. Tight ends, I don't see it. Quarterbacks, I just don't see it. If anybody, I'm saying inside linebackers. What's that?
Yeah, and it's just you don't know who you're going to lose. Like we talked about in the last podcast prior to spring ball starting, what are the attrition numbers? How many total players? Like we talked about, we thought maybe 3 scholarship receivers would leave from lack of playing time, but we didn't discuss the whole roster. My thought process is you got your big board, like I said, and you as spring ball continues and it's behind the inside of safe where the players can't see it, but the coaches walk in there and they start checking off the boxes or checking off the players is championship level, and you get down to that third or fourth player and you don't feel like he's championship level, then you start looking in that transfer portal because like you said, it's so vast and folks are coming in and coming out that it's almost like free agency. Hey, I lost 3 receivers. I feel like I got 2 inside linebackers that are championship level. I'd like to have 3. Is there a guy out there currently that fits that bill that I could bring to my team? But it's the transfer portal's brought like it has truly allowed college football to be year round, because you walk out of the bowl season in January, February, you walk into the second recruiting cycle, then you walk into spring practice, and coming out of spring practice is when people are coming in and out of the transfer portal, and that leads you right into summer. Clint talked about an off season. I don't think we had a couple of weeks that kind of lulled for a little bit, waiting for spring practice to get started, away from recruiting, the second recruiting day, which really doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, it's year-round cycle. And like I said, you got to build that best 53, 55, 58, whatever you think are going to be playing on Saturdays. And talking about Tyler Owens' willingness to take on bigger guys, I think his freshman year, he really showed out on special teams. Hard to remember him last year. I think he was often injured last year, but he was mostly the first guy down on special teams, along with a guy who we haven't heard from very much, and that's Marcus Tillman. But them as freshmen I remember watching the Louisiana Tech game, and I think the Rice game, and thinking these 2 young freshmen are the first guys down on special teams on kickoff every single time. And it's not, I know why he's the first one down, because he's got so much speed, but I really think now's the time to test him at linebacker.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you're going to do it now, do it. If you're going to do it now and see kind of where he's at. Again, that's what they said. Don't worry about it too deep at this particular point. It's really positionless football until you can find out where these guys are best at on the football field with the schemes that they're going to currently run. But I don't know how you have attrition at the wide receiver position after spring, because if guys like O'Meary don't come back, if Jake Smith's out, it allows these other guys you think that probably wouldn't start or get as many reps in spring, and now they move up in the depth chart. Is it more difficult for them to leave, or will they know where they currently sit? Now I don't know if they can know where they sit after spring. So I don't know if we'll see the attrition at the wide receiver position that you thought you would if you had consistent with O'Meary, Moore, and Smith, playing at those ones who we probably think the ones are. Now, Dixon and Washington and, these other guys will have an opportunity to step up and show who they are without those other guys playing at this particular point. So
totally agree.
And I think
didn't think about that point.
I think it'll minimize the attrition. at the wide receiver after spring that we thought we may see. Man, it's exciting to get back here and talk football, man. It's like I've watched 2 pressers, and it got to the point where I couldn't even watch the other pressers that, the press conferences last year, under the old regime, man. But I was really, really excited, man, and excited to talk football again. Excited to talk football players and positions and schemes and coaches. And I'm telling you what, it's going to be exciting. We'll be back on here Wednesdays and Sundays again. We'll be putting out some material over the next probably a couple of days to finish out our position reviews before spring is over. But really, really, really excited, man, that football's back. There's 101 people in here currently. If you would not mind hitting that like button, we'd appreciate it. Helps with the algorithm, helps us on YouTube, finding these shows. And then what we'll probably do with these shows, what we've done recently is we've tried to divide them by like specific. So we may, cut these up and outside of live, maybe cut these up and do shorter excerpts
segments,
of this show altogether. Talking about the basketball, basketball program, and then talking about obviously recruiting and Pilot 7-on-7, and then probably have another one just specifically for spring ball. So you don't have to go all the way through. If you want to catch it again, you don't have to go all the way through and watch the 120 minutes or fast forward or whatever the case may be. We can splice these up and put those out as well. But definitely agree, man. Anything you want to add before we get off here tonight?
Only the fact that we had a long sheet that we felt like we really needed to cover. Like you said, the pylon, 7-on-7 experience for us, the basketball team and their performance in the tournament, and then getting through all of our first show after spring ball started. So we didn't really get a chance to dive into the questions that the guys asked. So please, if you asked a question on here that you'd like for us to answer or give an opinion on, that we didn't get the chance to talk about or we didn't cover, please go in the comment section once the video is posted and put those questions or comments in there. We always do our best to answer those if we didn't get to them during the show. So no, like you said, I'm fired up, man. I'm ready to go. Again, I got my brand new Texas baseball jersey on. Baseball's still doing their thing. Won 9 out of the last 10. We didn't even talk about them. Girls basketball is about ready. I think if they haven't started already, about to play their second round game against UCLA. So Texas sports is popping. Just happy to be back on here. Like I said, just fired up.
And another way, if you want to submit questions, another way we could do it is you can DM us on Twitter or send us a message on Facebook. And then what we can do is more Sunday when we do our scatter shoots, it's more question and answers. Wednesdays is putting out as much information as we can, and then kind of, back and forth with the questions if the comment is really what we're talking about at that particular point. But I think really our Sunday scatter shoot is really just kind of all over the place. Those are the ones, man, where I want to answer a whole bunch of questions that they have. But if they DM us or something, maybe we can have a list of the DM questions from them, and hey, this is from such and such that DM'd us, and then answer that question as we go through the question and answer. And even if that person's not on the chat, at least they got their question out to us. Which maybe be another way to doing it as well. So if you want to DM us on Twitter, you can find us at Texas Football Talk. DM us, and then what we'll do is we'll get a list of those questions together, and then we'll actually maybe read off, the DMs from Twitter for a portion of that show as well. You can do that, such and such, ask this and this.
Yeah, three to five.
Yep. Yeah, 3 to 5 questions out of there and then answer them. But there's some other stuff that we plan on doing. Again, we plan on doing multi-platform shows, where we're on, maybe Facebook live at the same time we're on YouTube live. But again, I think, slicing these shows in 3 different elements, you can actually go back and watch the shows that you're more interested in without having to go through the entire show. And I promise we'll do this too. Before we get off tonight, I will go through, because usually what happens is this thing will go over to YouTube. And for some reason, when we're already in bed or asleep, the commercials will pop up. So I'll do my best tonight to stay on to make sure that there's not 46 commercials across the hour-long program as well. And if you have any ideas about, future shows you want us to do, put those in the comments as well. We look at those, and that really what feeds the channel as well. Any thoughts, man, before we head off of here?
No.
Man? I'll do my outro.
No.
All right, man. All right. Hey, you can follow us on Twitter at TX Football Talk. You can find us on Facebook at Texas Football Talk and on Instagram at Texas Football Talk. We appreciate you listening as always. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you on Sunday.
Welcome.